A shaft of gentle light crept through orange-patterned curtains, dancing across striped wallpaper as another Saturday began. The air was filled with the rustle of a cereal packet opening, milk glugging into a bowl, and the satisfying crunch with every spoonful. Somewhere, slippers padded past a stack of Beano comics while the kettle let out an impatient whistle. In the living room, the squat television hummed to life, screen wobbling before the familiar bursts of a children's program theme tune filled the house. Faint echoes of distant lawn mowers and the steady clip-clop of shoes on garden paths mingled with the laughter of siblings squabbling over which show would go on next. Sunbeams caught dust motes swirling around action men on the carpet, and the smell of toast drifted from the kitchen, promising more gentle delights. With only the day ahead, possibility shimmered in the soft glow. Every corner of the house alive with childhood's quiet magic. Every garden in suburbia became a mission zone, bounded by clipped hedges and sun-bleached fences. The perfect terrain for an action man escapade. His plastic helmet sat firm atop his painted hair as he crept through tufts of clover, the gnarled tree root a makeshift barricade. The grass, damp from a morning shower, pressed cool and faintly earthy against palms and knees, imprinting murky stains onto school trousers rolled high. Camouflage prints flashed against green as small hands maneuvered Action Man's stiff limbs through dandelion jungles and over the hazards of a gravel path. The toy's smooth limbs would pick up tiny grains of grit, and the snap of his gripping hands echoed oddly against the Monday quiet, with distant dog barks providing the only soundtrack. Children plotted elaborate rescues and jungle adventures, constructing rafts from lolly sticks and bivouacs from handkerchiefs, always alert to the risk of a nosy neighbor or a passing bee disrupting their clandestine operations. Each scrape on a plastic knee, each strand of grass wedged in his articulated joints, carried its own badge of victory. Time slowed to the steady marching beat of little boots in the puddled mud, where vivid green and khaki twinned seamlessly, making fantasy and garden earth inseparable. Sunlight gleamed off the scarred paint of Action Man's backpack as he scaled the brick, while sometimes successful, sometimes tumbling spectacularly into the flower bed amid bursts of laughter. The scent of recent rain, the prickly brush of privet leaves, and the weight of imagination made these miniaturized battles heroic and limitless. Forgotten biscuits dissolved at the garden's edge, while a trio of action men defended the sandpit fortress, their uniforms streaked with the season's stains. At dusk, the battered figures still caked in mud, bits of grass, and indelible adventure were rounded up for a rinse in the kitchen, relics of another afternoon's campaign, ready for dawn's next sortie. Out they came from sheds and hallways, giddy with anticipation and puffing with excitement, those bright, bulbous space hoppers with their comical handles and licorice black faces. The unwavering scent of warm rubber always hit first, prickling your nose as palms pressed and kneaded the pitted surface, ready for action. Someone's knee creaked onto the bouncy expanse with a faint squeak, signaling the start of lively laughter and shouts that would soon echo across summer gardens and suburban pavements. The awkward shuffle walk before launch, almost a ritual, ended in an awkward but triumphant hop. And then children were aloft, galloping in bold, jolting leaps. Each bounce sent a vibrating thrill through your legs. The world jiggled awkwardly, and your ears filled with the wild jubilation of friends tumbling alongside. The ground blurred, and solid grass became a hazard course. Knees and elbows bore witness, earning badges of honor in the form of scuffs and little red abrasions. Discarded shoes littered the patio as energetic souls thumped through daisy-speckled lawns, chasing the invisible finish lines drawn in each mind. competitive whoops rang out, their joy rising above the background drone of a distant car passing, until someone inevitably clattered into a hedge, laughter dissolving into shrieks of mock indignation or stinging pride. The continuous chafing between skin and rubber left an odd, persistent warmth that outlasted the bruises. Even long after the shouts faded, an imprint lingered from that fantastically absurd Stidden skin on grass. In shared memory, nothing could equal the breathless glee of moving across familiar patches of earth and tarmac, vaulting beyond limits, bruises blazing and all. Reluctantly, as dusk crept in, space hoppers were hauled back inside, deflated dreams awaiting the next wild afternoon. Beneath lampshade glow, in a small bedroom, Sindy reigned supreme on her plastic throne chaise, every inch designed for dreams. Her hair, silky and synthetic, tangled invitingly as small fingers plaited and brushed, the fine strands catching on cuticles and the fabric of her pink dressing gown. Even the smell a faint, sweet echo of new vinyl and talcum powder was all her own. Laid out across a patch of thick swirled carpet, she was queen of a world built at scale. Miniature tea sets on bedside tables, armchairs, set with care beside matchbox radios, and wardrobes brimming with pastel jumpers, each tiny hanger just begging to be held. Sindy's world expanded with every play session. The careful click of her shapely petite shoes onto her arched feet accompanied preparations for pretend and midnight adventures, feet nestled deep in carpet pile. A child inhabited secret narratives. Sindy could be a pop singer, a vet, sometimes even an astronaut, her stories shifting with every outfit change and swapping of plastic accessories. It was in arranging her world that hours slipped by. The soft drag of doll beds across the floor, the miniature brush swooping through her glossy mane, and the hushed clatter of plastic beads as bracelets slid from slender wrists. Those moments felt infinite, protected by the gentle hush of radiators humming, the muffled sound of grown-up television drifting in from another room. When Sindy's boots wouldn't quite fasten, or her jumper snagged on a stiff thumb, frustration was brief and soon replaced by new possibilities. Friends sometimes brought their own dolls round, and comparisons were drawn whose outfits was best, whose hair still shone. The thrill of accessorizing, of orchestrating royal weddings on rag-rugged floors, of building secret dens from cushions and shoeboxes, cemented an intimate magic, one untouched by the rush of the outside world. In that small room between 1978 and 1986, a childhood's hopes for glamour, friendship, and adventure played out in miniature, each new scenario stitched together by touch, scent, and imagination. The heart of winter in suburban England often pulsed in cool living rooms, transformed into scalextric arenas. Boys and girls clustered around lacquered tracks, painstakingly arranged into improbable figure-eights atop patterned rugs, fingers itching on the plastic pistol triggers. A sweet, metallic temps hung in the air, unmistakable as the tiny cars received their electric lifeblood. As soon as the power flicked on, the buzz started a persistent, lively whir, electrical and kinetic, filling every nook of the room. You'd grip your controller, knuckles whitening, while rival drivers elbowed for prime position. Laughter and shouts ricocheted off floral wallpaper, each friend shouting encouragement as their racers darted past mini grandstands crafted from cereal boxes. The acrid warmth of the tracks mingled with the subtle hint of scorched rubber, and the odd whiff of ozone marked a corner to sharply taken. At every dangerous bend, eyes widened, cheers rose, and the inevitable derailment sent a plastic sports car skidding into the blue-carpeted infield. Scuffles would break out over disputed victories. Was it a proper lap? Had someone nudged the track? But alliances usually returned by the next race, everyone eager for a rematch. Each session was both battle and pageant. Silver Jaguars against red Minis, all suffering chipped paint and makeshift repairs with sticky tape after collisions, yet never less dashing for their wounds. The excitement, almost tangible, filled the air as matches stretched endlessly, only pausing for handfuls of crisps or someone rushing to fetch batteries from the hallway drawer. Evenings often ended with hoarse voices and tired grins, spirits drifting as slowly as the cars left abandoned, still warm from countless laps and the competitive camaraderie that would echo through those rooms for years. Mornings in the late 1970s and early 80s sometimes began with the singular magic of Spirograph sprawled across the breakfast table, its box of interlocking rings and cogs promising a small universe of geometry. As cold sunlight angled through the window, the familiar scratch of ballpoint against thick paper gave way to looping swirls. Each spin of the plastic wheels sent tiny gears whirring in cheerful rhythm, their motion oddly soothing amid the hush of the house. Fingers stained with a hint of blue or red ink fussed with templates, trying to fit them together just right to avoid snags. There was an almost deliberate sense of anticipation as the teeth engaged, then a slow, careful turning of wheel within circle, tracing brilliant arrangements of lines that seemed both impossibly complex and entirely your own creation. Every so often a blob of ink marked an uncertain start or hasty pause, immortalizing a slip in concentration, but the gently building patterns more than made up for it. Eyes followed the growing forms as they layered over each other, a dance of symmetry and surprise that emerged in mesmerizing curves. The whiff of biro mingled with the crisp tang of new paper, providing a quiet reminder that art could unfurl from the most ordinary of materials. Even the quiet click as gears found a home in the ring felt satisfying, a small mechanical triumph. Finished pieces, a riot of neon and pastel lines, were cut from their perforated sheets or pegged to pegboards, proud trophies of an industrious hour. These mornings were unhurried and inventive, defined by the worry pulse of the spirograph and the ambient background of a quiet household not yet fully awake. What remained was an impression of accomplishment and the quiet delight of having tamed chaos into something striking and beautiful, all before proper shoes or school bags had entered the day. In the pause that follows a boisterous afternoon, one might find themselves surrounded by reminders of those early bonds forged over shared giggles and shouts. Toys, haphazardly abandoned in a corner or stashed in a dusty attic, trace the outlines of friendships made and tested. Flicking idly through scrapbook photos, an almost tangible echo of the hush that followed the mayhem, a sense of unity born from inventive games, whispered alliances, and whispered promises to keep secrets. These afternoons sharpened the senses and drew improbable worlds around us, their boundaries limited only by our resolve and imagination. In a predigital age, toys served as both tool and catalyst, transforming ordinary rooms into settings for drama and delight, always involving other siblings or mates, who soon became co-storytellers. A board game's cardboard surface, scuffed and worn, recalls laughter that bounced off the wallpaper, and the tension of rivalry dissipated with the final, triumphant throw of dice. Each exchange, every imaginative leap, stitched a richer tapestry of belonging. Years later, grown hands might trace these relics beneath a film of attic dust, or happen across a once crucial figurine, and the memories flare anew, proving how the innocence of make-believe cemented ties and opened endless avenues for creativity. As evening crept across the windowsill, the garden's noise softened to a gentle hush, the laughter and bustle of the day's games drawn indoors. In those lingering moments, The slanting glow of dusk spilled across carpet and toys, bathing each memory in gold before shadows gathered. Fingers traced beloved favorites before dropping them carefully into the old wooden toy chest, the lid closing with a familiar, final snap. The muffled creak signaled an unspoken end to adventure, coaxing a soft sigh from the day's last player. In that hush, echoes of make-believe still seemed to ripple across the floorboards, promises that tomorrow would bring new imaginings. Fading daylight lingered in corners, wrapping the room in a comfort only childhood could know, and leaving behind a warmth that outlasted both the hour and the era.